Thousands of people have gathered in Georgia's capital, Tbilisi, demanding the government revoke a controversial foreign agents bill. The Caucasus nation has been gripped by mass protests since the middle of April, when the ruling Georgian Dream party reintroduced plans to pass the law which would require any independent NGO or media organisation that receives more than 20% of funding from abroad to register as an organisation pursuing the interests of a foreign power. Critics argue it mirrors a Russian law on foreign agents, which they say has been used to silence media outlets critical of the Kremlin. The European Union has warned that the bill would undermine the country's European aspirations. Well, let's talk this through with Tinatin Kidasheli, who is chairperson of the Georgian think tank Civic Idea and former Minister of Defence in Georgia. Welcome to BBC News. So you have been at these protests, I understand. Talk us through why this law is a bad idea.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me here and for having this on air. Well, as you absolutely correctly mentioned, the main reason is that it is a replica of the Russian law, which meant to erase all the free voices, all the independent voices. And unfortunately, the goals of my government are exactly the same as Putin's goal were in 2012 when he first introduced this law. But if we go into the legislation itself, into the concrete provisions of the legislation itself, it's even more troubling because it requires from all of us, thousands of patriots of this country, to go to the Ministry of Justice and register as the agents of foreign states. Basically, what the law requires, word by word, is that anything we do, if it is supported by the foreign donors, then it is serving the interests of other states, of certain nations, and we need to declare ourselves as the agents of those nations. And obviously, it is pretty clear for the government that there is no single self-respecting human being in this country who is going to go with this procedure and register. They've put this law forward last year. There were tens of thousands of people on the streets over a week, forcing government, pressuring government to withdraw, and it worked. Last year, they were forced to withdraw the legislation. And here is another problem with the law. The fact that they brought it, reinitiated it again this year, speaks a lot about this government. Basically, the idea is that they want to take full revenge of the people. This is why the draft bill also has a provision which says that it has a retroactive force, meaning that it will be in force actually from the beginning of 2003. Government is telling to the people who, again, due to the very peaceful demonstrations on the streets last March, forced them to withdraw the legislation. They are telling to all of us that it did not matter. And governments will do whatever they plan to do in the first place already a year ago.
So do you expect this to be forced through then, this bill? Do you expect it to become law in Georgia then?
Well, there are two options, obviously, in this kind of situations. If the government will go ahead and, regardless of this, of the huge protest, last night was 12th day of the protest, and it's going to go all the way through up until mid-June before by schedule, the bill becomes a law. If government decides to ignore the protest, then they are losing it all because we have elections in October, parliamentary elections, and I'm pretty sure that this anger, which will stay with the people, will cost them power. If they will withdraw the legislation, if they will understand how desperate people are, how definite people are about their understanding of the legislation, about the danger it brings to the country, about us bringing back to the Russian backyard and putting a distance between us and the European Union, then I hope that they will withdraw the legislation and it will not pass the floor, which is going to happen actually second time today. This morning, in an hour, Parliament is going to discuss by second reading this draft.
Tinatin Kidasheli, I wish we had more time, but sadly we don't, I'm afraid, on the programme. But thank you for explaining what's happening in Georgia, what's at stake. We'll keep a very close eye. Thank you.